She brought potato salad to a party and left with my dignity. That's how the day went. 1 minute, we were walking up the driveway carrying folding chairs and beer like everything was normal. Next thing I know, some guy in cargo shorts I'd never seen before turns to me while we're standing around the grill and goes, "So how long you two been separated?" No warning, no pause, just straight to it, like he was asking what team I root for. I didn't even answer at first. I just blinked at him. He laughed awkwardly. "Oh, sorry. I just heard her mention something about her new place, and I assumed." My throat locked up. My hands started sweating around the beer can I was holding. New place? She never moved out. She was across the yard talking to Maddie and Leanne by the cooler like nothing was wrong. Laughing, flipping her hair, looking like she hadn't just detonated a bomb under my entire life. I walked straight over and asked, "Who the hell thinks we're separated?" She barely looked at me, just said, "Can we not do this here?" "No, I think we're gonna do it right now." People turned. Some backed up. Music was still playing, but no one was really listening. She grabbed my arm and muttered, "Lower your voice." I shook her off. "Did you tell people we broke up?" She rolled her eyes, like I was being dramatic. I said we've been taking time. It's not that deep. We sleep in the same bed. You snore on the couch most nights. That's not a breakup, it's exhaustion. She smiled at Maddie like I was being ridiculous. "We can talk about this at home." "No, we're talking about it now, because some stranger just congratulated me on my divorce, and I don't even know what the hell's going on." Her eyes flicked toward the guy at the grill. "You made a scene. I hope it was worth it." Then she walked off like she didn't just announce to the neighborhood that I was apparently single and clueless. I stood there, heart pounding, everyone trying not to stare at me. Nobody said a word, until Maddie came up behind me and whispered, "I thought you knew. She's been telling people she moved out like 2 months ago." 2 months. I set my beer down on the nearest table. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't take my chair. I walked straight out the gate, into the street, and kept walking. I didn't go home that night. I ended up at a Denny's 2 towns over, just sitting in a booth by the window, staring at my coffee like it was supposed to tell me what the hell just happened. I kept checking my phone. One text from her, hours after I left the barbecue. "Let me know when you're done being dramatic." That was it. No apology. No explanation. Just a dig. The waitress must have asked me 3 times if I was waiting on someone. I wasn't. I was waiting on reality to catch up. Darla had been telling people we were separated for 2 months. 2 months. Meanwhile, I was still unclogging her hair from the shower drain and folding her socks like a damn fool. Around 3 in the morning, I drove home. The lights were off, house quiet. I figured she was asleep. But when I opened the door, her purse was gone. So were her shoes. Her coat. Closet half empty. It hit me like a truck. She didn't just say she moved out. She actually did it. Behind my back. I stood there in the hallway, staring at the space where her things used to be, and all I could think was, how do you move out of your own marriage without saying a single word? Next day, I called her. Straight to voicemail. Tried again. Nothing. So I drove to her work. She was in the middle of walking out for lunch when I pulled into the parking lot. She saw me coming and didn't even flinch. Just sighed and said, "Seriously? That's all I get." I said, "After 11 years? After 2 kids? A voicemail? You're making this harder than it has to be." "No, Darla. You made this harder. You lied to everyone. You made me look like a complete idiot." She crossed her arms. "I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything." "That's called lying. Neil, you knew we weren't working. You've known it for a long time." I shook my head. "Then why didn't you say something?" "Because you don't listen," she snapped. "You live in your own little world where everything's fine as long as dinner's on the table and the bills are paid. Meanwhile, I've been screaming into a void." "Then scream at me, not everyone else." Too late. She was already walking away, pulling her phone out like the conversation was over. I stood there in the parking lot, watching my wife walk away like I was some clingy ex who couldn't take a hint. And that's when I made a decision. I followed her. I didn't follow her to be creepy. I wasn't trying to corner her or make some dramatic gesture in a parking lot. I just needed answers, and she clearly wasn't going to give them if I asked like a normal person. So yeah, I got in my car and trailed hers down I-80, half a mile back, trying to keep enough distance that she wouldn't notice. She didn't go back to the house. She didn't go to her sister's place like I assumed. She drove out past the Joliet Speedway, toward a weird little townhouse complex near the old industrial park. That's when it hit me. She really had moved out. It wasn't a bluff. She parked in front of Unit 12A and walked in like she owned the place. No hesitation. No second look. I sat across the street in my car for almost an hour, heart pounding, watching the windows. At one point, the lights came on in the upstairs bedroom. Two shadows moved past the blinds. Two. It wasn't just hers. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay on the couch, my couch, apparently, thinking about all the mornings she kissed me goodbye while her stuff was already boxed up in her head. How many lies had I swallowed without realizing? Girls' night. Late shift. Just need a breather. All of it felt fake now. The next morning, I knocked on the door of 12A. I probably should have waited. Called. Texted. But I didn't care. I was done playing nice. She opened it half an inch. Hair still wet from the shower. She looked surprised. Not guilty. Just annoyed. Jesus, Neil. Are you serious right now? Let me in. No. I'm not leaving. Behind her, I heard footsteps. A man's voice, low, casual, asked, "Everything all right?" She turned and snapped, "Stay upstairs." And that confirmed it. I pushed the door open wider before she could stop me. "So that's him, huh? That's the guy?" She shoved it shut in my face. "You need to leave. Now." "You lied to my face." She stepped outside, pulling the door closed behind her. "I didn't lie. I moved on." "That fast? You just slid into someone else's bed like I never existed?" "You existed," she said coldly. "You just didn't show up." I stared at her. This woman who'd once cried at our wedding because she said I was her safe place, now standing in front of me, telling me I was a ghost. I turned around and walked back to my car. I didn't say another word. But I wasn't done. Not even close. 2 days later, I walked into my own house and found her laptop still logged into our family email. At first, I just wanted to cancel our Amazon auto ship stuff because I figured, why the hell should I keep buying paper towels and dog food for someone who doesn't live here anymore? But the moment I saw her inbox open, something inside me flipped. It wasn't snooping. Not really. It was survival. Most of it was boring, school announcements, Target receipts, flight confirmation for a trip she never told me about. But then I saw the email. Sent, not received. Subject line, this weekend. Sent to someone named Lucas C. I clicked it open. I'll tell Neil after this weekend. I swear. Just let me get through the barbecue. I'll come clean after that. I just want to enjoy one last thing before it all explodes. That barbecue was supposed to be one last thing. One last moment of normalcy before she shattered everything. She planned the lie. She planned me. And then it got worse. I searched for Lucas and found a full thread. Photos. Hotel bookings. Long messages that looked like love letters from high school. She called him her second chance. She said our marriage was like living in a waiting room. That one stung the most. I was the waiting room. The place she sat in until something better called her name. I didn't cry. I didn't punch a wall. I just closed the laptop, walked to the fridge, opened a beer, and stood there in the kitchen like the floor might fall out. I looked around at all the crap we picked out together. The butcher block table. The ugly ceramic fruit bowl she loved. Every single thing in that house had her fingerprints on it. Even the damn dog, who kept staring at the door like she was still coming home. I wasn't about to be some footnote in her healing journey. So I started packing. Not my stuff. Hers. I grabbed every drawer, every cabinet, everything she left behind like a trail of breadcrumbs. I didn't break anything. I didn't throw stuff out the window like in the movies. I just boxed it all with military precision. Labeled each one with her name in big black Sharpie. Then I drove every single box to 12A. I didn't knock this time. I didn't care if Lucas saw me. I stacked the boxes neatly in front of the door, one by one, until the whole entryway looked like a moving truck exploded. And then I left a note on top. For words. Tell him everything now. Then I got in my car and drove off without looking back. I thought dropping off her stuff would feel like a win. Like a power move. Truth is, the second I drove away, I felt nothing. Not relief. Not satisfaction. Just this weird, empty pressure in my chest. Like I'd finally stepped out of denial and into the real mess. Later that night, my phone started blowing up. 3 missed calls. 1 voicemail. Then a long text from Darla. You seriously need help. That was insane. Lucas doesn't deserve to be dragged into this just because you're falling apart. Falling apart? I stared at that sentence for a long time. She was right about one thing. I was falling apart. But not because she left. Not even because she cheated. It was how casual she was about it. Like I was supposed to just nod and move aside while she rebuilt her life on top of the one she'd bulldozed. Next day, I got a call from her sister, Paige. She rarely called me unless something big was going down. "You need to talk to Darla," she said, skipping right over hello. "She's freaking out." "She made her bed," I said. "She says you threatened her." "I left her boxes and told her to come clean. She said you showed up angry. Intimidating." I almost laughed. She's dating the guy she lied to me about for God knows how long. And I'm the threat? Paige hesitated, like she wasn't sure whose side she was supposed to be on. "I'm just saying, don't do something you'll regret. She already took care of that for both of us." I hung up. That night, I decided to do something I hadn't done since before we were married. I went through our old shared photo drive. I don't even know why. Maybe I was chasing some kind of clue, some proof that what we had was once real. But instead, I found something else. In the Holidays 2023 folder, there were photos I didn't take. Darla smiling in a hotel room I didn't recognize, holding a champagne glass, sitting next to Lucas. He had his arm around her waist. Timestamp December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas. That was the weekend she told me she was visiting her aunt in Michigan. I'd spent that night wrapping presents for our kids while she was in a hotel bed with him. Something snapped at me after that. The photos were proof. She hadn't just cheated. She built an entire second life while I played house alone. I copied the folder. I wasn't going to post them online. I wasn't that guy. But if she wanted to pretend like I was crazy, like I made everything up, she was going to find out just how much I knew. So I printed 3 of the photos, slid them into an envelope, and drove straight to her office. I didn't walk into her office like a madman. I wore a clean shirt, combed my hair, kept my expression calm. From the outside, I probably looked like someone dropping off a lunch bag or forgotten keys. Nothing unusual. That was the point. The receptionist gave me a polite smile. "Can I help you?" I set the envelope down on the counter. "It's for Darla. Personal. Just make sure she gets it today." She nodded. "I'll let her know." I turned around and walked out before I could change my mind. That envelope was heavier than it looked. 3 photos and 1 line written in ink. "Merry Christmas," from the waiting room. It wasn't revenge. It was reality, printed in color. I wanted her to feel, for once, what I'd felt every damn day since she blindsided me at that barbecue. About 20 minutes later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I knew it wasn't her. She never called anymore. But I picked up. Male voice. Cold. Measured. "You need to stop harassing Darla." It was Lucas. I laughed. "Harassment? Try truth. You dating a liar, man. Might want to double-check that foundation." "I'm warning you." "No, I'm warning you," I snapped. "You're living in a fantasy she built on top of our marriage. And sooner or later, that thing's gonna cave in." He hung up. Not 10 minutes later, Darla texted me. "You just can't help yourself. I tried to make this clean. You turned it ugly." Clean? She called moving out in secret, lying to our friends, and dragging our kids through her rebound clean. The gall actually made me laugh out loud. That night, Paige called again. "I don't know what you did," she said, "but Darla's having a meltdown. She told me I was crazy. I showed her I wasn't." "She's saying you're unstable, Neil." "Yeah? Let's talk about unstable. You want to know where your sister was last Christmas? Because I've got timestamps and receipts." Silence. Then, more quietly, she said, "I knew something was off." I didn't answer. I wasn't going to turn this into a family war, but I wasn't protecting Darla's image either. She built her mess. She could sit in it. The next morning, I finally heard from her. She showed up at the house unannounced, knocked once, and let herself in like she still lived there. "You've made your point," she said, standing in the hallway like she didn't recognize it anymore. I leaned against the wall. "That wasn't my point." "Then what is?" I looked her dead in the eye. "I want full custody." The second I said it, she laughed. Like full-on, sharp, insulted laughter. Not surprise, just disgust. She folded her arms and said, "You're not getting full custody. Don't be ridiculous." I didn't flinch. "Try me. You think a judge is going to give full custody to a man who stalked his wife to her boyfriend's house, dumped her stuff like a psycho, and sent creepy photos to her job?" I stayed silent for a beat, then said, "I think a judge is going to want to know why you moved out without telling your husband, lied about it to everyone, and introduced our kids to a guy you were cheating with during a custody gray area. That's what I think." She blinked. Just once. Then she tried to steady herself. I haven't introduced them. Lucas has never met them. I reached into the drawer behind me, pulled out my phone, opened a photo I took 2 weeks ago. Darla, standing in the frozen yogurt line, holding our daughter's hand. Lucas standing right beside her. I held it up without a word. She didn't even bother denying it this time. She just stared at the screen, jaw clenched, chest rising and falling fast. "Do you really want this to get legal?" she asked, finally. I stared back. "You already made it legal. You just didn't think I'd catch up." She started pacing the hallway. "This isn't good for them. You know that, right? This tension, this fighting. They need stability." "Exactly," I said, "which is why they're going to stay here. In their own rooms. In their own school. With the parent who didn't walk out. Lucas isn't a bad guy. I don't care. He's not their dad. And he never will be." She stopped moving and just looked at me, and for the first time since this whole thing blew up, she didn't look angry. She looked scared. Not terrified. Not dramatic. Just cornered, like she finally realized I wasn't going to let her rewrite the story. "I never meant for it to go this far," she muttered. I nodded. "Yeah, you never do, until it does." I didn't raise my voice once. I didn't have to. She left without saying goodbye. Just picked up her keys and walked out the same door she'd snuck through weeks before. This time, I locked it behind her. The next morning, I called a lawyer. And not just any lawyer, her old divorce lawyer. The one her sister used 3 years ago during her split. The guy Darla always said was ruthless but effective. I told him everything. Then I wired the retainer. By noon, we'd filed. The divorce moved fast after that. Once the paperwork hit her inbox with her name spelled out in bold letters next to the word respondent, she stopped playing games. Her tone changed overnight. No more long texts, no more fake concern, no more pretending like we were just figuring it out. Now it was, "Can we talk before court? And do we really need to involve the lawyers so heavily?" And my personal favorite, "I don't want the kids caught in the middle." Too late. She'd put them there the second she moved out and lied about it. I wasn't being petty. I was done being handled. 2 months later, we had our first court hearing. She walked in wearing all white. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so pathetic. Lucas was with her, sitting in the back row like some discount bodyguard. I didn't acknowledge him. He didn't look me in the eye once. My lawyer laid everything out. The secret move, the photos, the timing, the fact that she'd involved another man without informing me or the court while we were still legally married. Darla's lawyer tried to paint it as confusion during a separation, but the judge didn't buy it. Not even close. By the end of the hearing, I had temporary primary custody. She got 2 weekends a month and alternating holidays. It wasn't permanent yet, but the look on her face told me she knew how this was going to end. The real cherry on top came 3 weeks later when I got a call from her sister, Paige. "You didn't hear this from me," she said. "But Lucas left." I was quiet for a second. "He left her?" She caught him messaging some other woman. Claimed it was innocent. Sound familiar? I actually smiled for the first time in weeks. Wow. Apparently, he moved out of 12A last night. She's been calling me nonstop. I didn't say anything else. Just thanked her and hung up. I didn't celebrate. Didn't gloat. Karma's better when it shows up quietly. She thought Lucas was her upgrade, her fresh start. Turns out, he was just another version of her. No loyalty. No spine. Just someone chasing what felt exciting until it wasn't. Now she's back in a rental apartment across town, trying to figure out how to make a life work without a man holding the structure together. Me? I'm good. I've got the kids, the house, and peace. Real peace. I don't walk on eggshells anymore. I sleep through the night. I cook for 3 instead of 4, and somehow, dinner tastes better. Cleaner. Like the air after a storm. And every now and then, when she texts something passive-aggressive about the custody schedule or being civil, I just look at the message, smile to myself, and put the phone down. She wanted freedom. She got it. Alone. Do you think Darla got what she deserved in the end? Drop your answer in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.